Why do some people command respect effortlessly, while others struggle to be taken seriously no matter how hard they try? Think about it. At work, in relationships, even in social circles, there are individuals who seem to walk into a room and instantly shift the atmosphere. They speak and people listen, they act and others follow. Yet, for most, earning that kind of authority feels almost impossible. Have you ever wondered why? The truth is, power and respect are not accidents. They are not simply given to those who deserve them. They are constructed, engineered, and maintained with precision. For centuries, thinkers and leaders have tried to decode the hidden psychology behind influence, but few have done it as ruthlessly and effectively as Niccolo Machiavelli. His insights into human nature, dark, raw, and unapologetically honest, remain some of the most controversial yet practical lessons on how power truly operates. What you're about to discover might surprise you, and it could change the way you see influence forever. Machiavelli believed that people are not guided by ideals, but by fear, ambition, and self-interest. This sounds harsh, doesn't it? But think about the last time you respected someone deeply. Was it because they were always nice, or was it because they projected strength, certainty, and the ability to control outcomes? Respect, in its purest form, often comes from authority mixed with a touch of fear, and Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. Now ask yourself, how many times have you tried to earn respect by simply being kind, agreeable, or endlessly available, only to be overlooked? You've probably felt the sting of being ignored while others, less talented or less moral, rose to positions of influence. You're not alone. This is the silent struggle of countless people. Stay with me until the end, because the principles you'll hear today will reveal why this happens, and more importantly, how you can reverse it. Machiavelli's Ruthless. Lessons don't just apply to kings and rulers of the past. They are alive in modern boardrooms, politics, and even in the subtle dynamics of everyday life. From the psychology of appearances to the art of strategic distance, these hidden codes of power are still shaping who gains respect and who remains invisible. And as we begin to uncover the secret psychology of extreme power and respect, guided by Machiavelli's sharp and sometimes unsettling wisdom, you'll start to see patterns you may have missed before. And maybe as you hear this, you start to recognize moments in your own life where power slipped through your fingers, or where respect felt just out of reach. Have you ever been in a situation where you knew you had the knowledge, the skill, or even the moral ground, yet someone else, perhaps more confident, perhaps more strategic, was the one who received the recognition? If that resonates with you, I would love to hear your story. Share in the comments how this struggle has shown up for you, because when you speak your experience, it not only creates connection, but also helps others realize they're not alone in this. And if this exploration already feels meaningful, take a second to like this video. It might seem like a small action, but it tells me that this content matters to you and encourages me to keep bringing you more of these timeless insights. Every single like truly amplifies the reach of this message. Most importantly, if you want to continue diving deeper into the psychology of power, respect, and human nature, make sure to subscribe to the channel. This space is built for people like you, those who want to see beneath the surface of life, those who seek wisdom that most ignore. Your subscription is not just a click, it's a statement that you are choosing to walk this path with us, because ultimately, this is more than just content. It's a community of people searching for clarity, strength, and the courage to face reality as it is. Your voice, your support, and your presence here are what allow this message to grow and touch more lives. And as we return to Machiavelli's ruthless lessons, we'll begin to see how each principle can be applied in ways that are both unsettling and empowering at the same time. When most people hear the name Machiavelli, they immediately think of manipulation, cruelty, or the cold strategist who supposedly taught rulers to betray and deceive. His name itself has become a synonym for ruthless ambition. But that image, while partly true, hides the deeper story. Machiavelli was not just a writer locked away in theory. He was a man living through one of the most turbulent and dangerous times in history. He served in the shifting courts of Renaissance Florence, surrounded by betrayal, corruption, and constant struggles for survival. He wasn't creating fantasies, he was documenting the truth he saw in the raw theater of politics. And this is what makes his psychology so enduring, because it was born not in ivory towers, but in the trenches of real human behavior. Machiavelli understood that behind every mask of civility lies a current of desire, fear, and ambition. He observed that people often pretend to act from virtue or morality, but their true motivations are almost always rooted in survival and self-interest. Think of the countless moments in your own life where someone claimed one thing but acted in a completely different way when power, reputation, or opportunity was at stake. That tension between what is said and what is truly desired is at the core of Machiavelli's revelations. He was bold enough to strip away illusions and reveal the hidden mechanisms of influence. Far from being a monster, he was a mirror, reflecting the uncomfortable truths we often try to deny. His work shows us the backstage of human interaction, where appearances and reality rarely align, and in this sense, he becomes less a teacher of deception and more a guide to awareness. By recognizing how people actually behave rather than how they claim to behave, you gain an advantage. This shift in perspective is transformative because it changes how you interpret respect, loyalty, and authority. You begin to see patterns you were once blind to, and that awareness alone creates power. Now, I want to go even deeper into this subject because Machiavelli's lessons extend beyond politics and history. They strike at the very psychology of relationships, leadership, and personal growth. They challenge us to question our mindset, the decisions we make, and the hidden forces shaping our journey. And before we continue, I want to ask you, if this resonates with you, write in the comments, "This makes sense to me." Machiavelli's psychology becomes even clearer when we step into his most controversial idea, the ruthless reality of human nature. He argued that beneath the surface of every polite smile and noble promise, human beings are ultimately driven by three powerful forces: fear, ambition, and self-interest. At first glance, this view may feel dark, almost cynical, but think for a moment about your own experiences. How many times have you witnessed people acting out of pure generosity compared to how often you've seen them protect their status, chase recognition, or avoid consequences? Machiavelli believed that to understand people is to accept that these instincts are not the exception, but the rule. Fear, for him, was not simply terror, but the invisible boundary that keeps people in line. Most individuals are more motivated to avoid pain or punishment than to seek reward. This explains why authority figures often command respect, not by being loved, but by being seen as strong enough to set limits. Ambition, on the other hand, is the restless fire that pushes individuals forward, sometimes at the cost of loyalty. It is the reason allies can become rivals overnight when opportunities for advancement appear. And self-interest, the most enduring force, reminds us that even the closest bonds can be tested when personal gain is at stake. Machiavelli's brilliance lies in showing that once you grasp these hidden drivers, you stop being surprised by disappointment. Instead, you learn to anticipate behavior. This awareness grants you an advantage because influence is built on accurate expectations, not wishful thinking. When you recognize that respect is rarely unconditional, you begin to shape it intentionally by presenting strength where others look for certainty, by aligning with ambition rather than resisting it, and by understanding self-interest as the true currency of relationships. This is not a call to become manipulative or cruel. It is an invitation to see clearly, to stop being naive about the nature of people, and to start building your influence on a foundation that cannot be shaken by false ideals. When you realize that fear, ambition, and self-interest are always present, you gain a lens that exposes the hidden truth behind actions, words, and even silence. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because once you accept this raw picture of human behavior, the next step is learning how respect is not simply granted. It is carefully engineered through strategy and perception. Respect is often treated as something automatic, as if simply being a good person or working hard should naturally earn it. But Machiavelli, observing the ruthless dynamics of power, argued that respect is not something people hand out freely. It is engineered with intention. Think about the difference between being liked and being respected. Being liked can be pleasant, but it is fragile. People may like you for your humor, your generosity, or your kindness, but those feelings can shift the moment you stop meeting their expectations. Respect, on the other hand, has a different weight. It is anchored in strength, consistency, and the perception that you cannot be easily shaken. The illusion of being liked tempts many into people-pleasing. But the danger is that when you aim to be liked by everyone, you often end up respected by no one. Liking is emotional, temporary, and dependent on mood. Respect is rational, enduring, and often tied to the recognition of authority. Machiavelli knew that leaders who chased affection often became vulnerable because affection is fickle, but those who cultivated respect held power that lasted far longer than admiration based on charm or popularity. Consider your own life. Perhaps you have tried to maintain harmony by always agreeing, always accommodating, and yet found yourself overlooked or dismissed when it mattered most. Contrast that with the person who establishes boundaries, speaks firmly, and carries themselves with unwavering confidence. Even if they are not universally liked, they are noticed, heard, and often followed. This is because respect is built on signals, signals of strength, signals of control, and signals of self-mastery. Machiavelli's insight is that respect must be engineered through deliberate actions and calculated presence. It is not about dominating others through force, but about shaping how others perceive your authority. People watch how you respond under pressure, how you handle conflict, and how you protect your own dignity. These moments, more than words or appearances, become the blueprint of your reputation. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because once we see respect as something constructed rather than given, we must ask, what is the most reliable foundation to build it on? The fragile pursuit of love, or the commanding presence of fear? Machiavelli's most quoted and perhaps most misunderstood idea is this: it is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. On the surface, it sounds brutal, as if he is advising tyrants to rule with cruelty. But if we read it carefully, we see something more subtle. He is not rejecting love, he is ranking it. Love is powerful, but it is unreliable, easily broken when circumstances change. Fear, on the other hand, has a durability that love does not. Fear commands consistency because people will often act to avoid pain or loss long before they will act out of gratitude or affection. In modern life, this balance of fear and love is not about intimidation or threats. It's about the psychology of authority. A leader who wants only to be loved risks being seen as weak, overly accommodating, or incapable of making hard decisions. This type of love quickly evaporates the moment the leader must enforce boundaries or disappoint expectations. Respect collapses, and authority with it. But a leader who is respected, sometimes even slightly feared, creates a sense of certainty. People know this person will not be swayed by every opinion, will not bend to every demand, and will not hesitate to protect their position. That firmness, while it may unsettle some, establishes a lasting foundation of respect. Think of a teacher who tries to be everyone's friend. The classroom soon turns chaotic because affection alone cannot hold structure. Compare that to a teacher who is warm but firm, who sets rules that are not negotiable. Students may not like that firmness every day, but they respect it, and in the long run they trust it. The same dynamic plays out in business, politics, and even in personal relationships. This is why Machiavelli insisted on balance. The ideal is to be both loved and feared, to inspire affection while commanding authority. But when forced to choose, he believed fear was the safer anchor. Why? Because love is a choice others can withdraw, while fear is a calculation they cannot ignore. Understanding this distinction transforms how we view leadership, boundaries, and influence. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject because if fear and love are the forces that shape authority, then appearances and perceptions become the stage on which power is displayed. Machiavelli understood something that modern psychology continues to prove. What people believe about you often matters more than who you truly are. He argued that human beings rarely have access to the full truth of someone's character. Instead, they operate on appearances, on the images carefully or unconsciously projected into the world. This is what he called the mask of power. It may sound unsettling, but think about it. How often do you truly know someone's intentions, strengths, or weaknesses? Most of the time, you rely on perception, reputation, and subtle cues. And those cues, whether designed or accidental, shape the authority you hold in the eyes of others. This is why appearances are never trivial. They are the stage where respect is negotiated. If you carry yourself with confidence, speak with clarity, and control your reactions, others will interpret those signals as strength. If you appear uncertain, apologetic, or inconsistent, even your true abilities may be overlooked. Machiavelli believed that a wise person does not simply rely on inner virtue, but learns to manage how that virtue is perceived. After all, history is filled with brilliant minds who went unheard because their image lacked weight, while others with lesser substance but greater presence rose to influence. Reputation then becomes one of the most valuable assets of power. It is fragile, built slowly over time, yet capable of collapsing in a single, careless act. But when cultivated carefully, reputation can protect you even when reality is not perfect. Machiavelli noted that rulers who projected stability and decisiveness could hold their positions even when they made mistakes, because perception carried more weight than truth. The same principle applies today. A leader, entrepreneur, or even a friend who consistently signals reliability will often be trusted far beyond their actual record. This does not mean living dishonestly. It means recognizing that perception is part of the human game. We are all performers on the stage of life, whether we admit it or not. The question is not whether you wear a mask, but whether you are conscious of the mask you present. If you choose wisely, that mask becomes a tool, protecting your weaknesses, amplifying your strengths, and shaping the respect you command. Now, I want to go even deeper into this subject, because once we accept the power of appearances, we must explore the art of strategic distance, the discipline of not being too available, which creates mystery and multiplies authority. Machiavelli observed that familiarity, while comforting, can erode respect. The more accessible and predictable you are, the more ordinary you become in the eyes of others. This is where the art of strategic distance enters. Power thrives not in constant exposure, but in carefully measured presence. When people feel they can have you at any moment, your influence diminishes. But when your time, attention, and energy are scarce, every interaction takes on greater weight. This principle is not only political, but deeply psychological, rooted in the human tendency to value what feels rare and to dismiss what feels abundant. Consider how scarcity works in everyday life. A product that is always available is often taken for granted, but when it becomes limited, demand surges. The same logic applies to people. When you set boundaries, when you choose moments to withdraw, you are silently communicating that your presence is valuable. Machiavelli understood this long before. Modern psychology confirmed it. Authority is magnified by selective access. Leaders who appear at the right time, in the right way, leave stronger impressions than those who are constantly visible, diluting their own impact. Mystery also plays a role. Human beings are naturally drawn to the unknown. When others cannot fully predict your thoughts, emotions, or decisions, they attribute greater depth and strength to you. This aura of unpredictability is not about being erratic, but about refusing to reveal everything. It sparks curiosity, and curiosity often turns into respect. People lean in when they don't know what you'll say next. They pay closer attention when your reactions are not guaranteed. Strategic distance keeps others slightly off balance, and that tension strengthens your position. Think of relationships where one person is always available, always giving, always present. Over time, their effort is undervalued. Contrast that with the person who maintains space, who offers presence sparingly but meaningfully. Their absence is noticed, their return appreciated. That rhythm creates authority, and it works across friendships, leadership, and influence alike. Machiavelli's insight was not to become cold or detached, but to wield distance as a tool, to remain visible enough to inspire yet distant enough to command. This balance transforms how others perceive your worth and amplifies the respect you receive. Now, I want to go even deeper into this subject because once we understand the silent force of distance, we can look at how Machiavelli's ruthless lessons reveal themselves in real stories, through rulers, leaders, and even modern figures who mastered these principles in action. Throughout history, Machiavelli's lessons have not remained confined to the pages of The Prince. They have been embodied, consciously or unconsciously, by leaders who understood the psychology of power. Take Julius Caesar, for example. His rise was not based solely on military brilliance, but on his careful control of appearances. He knew when to show mercy and when to project ruthlessness, crafting a reputation that made him both admired and feared. Even in moments of political vulnerability, his image of strength created loyalty that outlasted his failures. Caesar engineered respect, proving Machiavelli's insight that perception can outweigh reality. Move forward to Winston Churchill. During World War II, he understood the balance of fear and love in leadership. He spoke with fiery conviction, projecting absolute certainty even when Britain stood on the edge of collapse. His speeches weren't merely informative, they were performances designed to craft an image of resilience. People respected Churchill, not because he had every answer, but because he embodied strength when fear threatened to dominate. His authority came from shaping perception at a time when clarity meant survival. In modern times, corporate giants reflect the same ruthless psychology. Steve Jobs, for instance, mastered strategic distance. He was not constantly accessible to employees or the public. His presence was carefully staged. When Jobs appeared, whether to present a product or make a decision, the world paid attention. That scarcity of access magnified his authority. At the same time, his relentless ambition and insistence on excellence created a culture of respect, even among those who feared his intensity. Jobs proved that in the world of business, just like in politics, perception, distance, and strength forge influence. Even figures like Elon Musk reveal shades of Machiavellian psychology. His unpredictable actions, whether bold declarations, controversial moves, or carefully timed appearances, keep the public and competitors guessing. That unpredictability creates mystery and ensures his presence dominates conversation. It may not always inspire affection, but it secures respect by forcing others to acknowledge his influence. What unites these examples is not cruelty but clarity. Each of these leaders, in their own way, applied the timeless truths of fear, ambition, and self-interest while mastering the art of appearances. They reveal how Machiavelli's ruthless lessons are not relics of the past, but living strategies shaping the present. Now, I want to go even deeper into this subject because understanding these examples is only the first step. The real power comes when we translate Machiavelli's psychology into practical steps for our own lives. So, that respect and influence are not accidents but deliberate creations. If Machiavelli's lessons sound distant, reserved only for rulers and great leaders, think again. The same psychology of power can be applied in everyday life, not to manipulate or dominate, but to cultivate respect that empowers your relationships, career, and personal growth. The first step is awareness. Begin to notice how fear, ambition, and self-interest shape the behavior of people around you. Instead of being shocked or hurt when others act out of self-preservation, learn to anticipate it. This shift prevents you from being blindsided and allows you to respond with clarity rather than frustration. Next comes boundaries. Respect is rarely given to those who constantly yield. Whether in friendships, at work, or in family dynamics, people will value your presence more when you draw clear lines. A simple no at the right time can communicate strength more effectively than endless concessions. Think of the difference between the colleague who is always available and the one who manages their time with discipline. The latter earns greater respect because their attention carries weight. Strategic presence also matters. You don't need to be loud or dominating, but you do need to be intentional. Speak when your words add value, act with purpose, and resist the urge to overexpose yourself. Just as scarcity raises the value of gold, measured presence elevates your authority. This doesn't mean withdrawing from people, but rather ensuring that your presence is meaningful when it is offered. Another key lies in perception. Ask yourself, what do others see when they look at me? It's not about faking an identity, but about aligning how you wish to be seen with the signals you send. Carry yourself with confidence, even when uncertain. Show consistency in your actions. Protect your reputation as one of your most valuable assets. These are not manipulations. They are conscious choices to reinforce the respect you deserve. Most importantly, anchor all of this in self-mastery. Power without integrity collapses. Influence without inner control becomes manipulation. By understanding the truths of human nature and applying them with wisdom, you create an aura of strength that inspires respect without deceit. Now, I want to go even deeper into this subject because once we learn how to embody these principles personally, we arrive at the ultimate secret of respect, the realization that true power begins within, through the mastery of self before the mastery of others. At the heart of Machiavelli's ruthless lessons lies a truth that is often overlooked. Power without self-mastery is fragile, and respect without inner discipline is fleeting. What he revealed through his sharp observations of human nature was not simply a call to dominate others, but a call to understand the forces that move people, their fears, their ambitions, and their self-interest, so that we can navigate the world with clarity rather than illusion. The ultimate secret of respect is not rooted in cruelty or manipulation, but in the ability to command yourself first. When you cultivate strength within, when you learn to manage your emotions, your boundaries, and your image, you project an authority that others instinctively recognize. Self-mastery is the cornerstone of lasting influence. A person who cannot govern their own impulses will never truly govern the respect of others. Think of how quickly admiration dissolves when someone reveals weakness through anger, inconsistency, or desperation. Contrast that with the enduring power of someone who remains composed under pressure, who chooses their words with precision, and who acts with intention rather than reaction. That calm center is what draws respect and maintains it, even in the face of adversity. Machiavelli's psychology, when stripped of its sinister reputation, becomes a timeless toolkit. It teaches us that appearances matter, that distance creates value, that fear and love must be balanced, and that respect must be engineered. But above all, it teaches that the foundation of power is not found in external control, but in the inner capacity to see the world as it is and respond with strategy rather than naivety. Those who dare to rise above the ordinary learn to master these principles, not to exploit, but to endure. This is why Machiavelli's lessons remain relevant centuries later. In every boardroom, every political arena, every relationship, the dynamics he exposed are still alive. To ignore them is to remain blind to the invisible structures that shape influence. To embrace them wisely is to step into a higher level of awareness, where respect is no longer a gamble, but a deliberate creation. So let me leave you with a question. Which of Machiavelli's ruthless lessons do you think is most relevant today? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you want more timeless psychology and philosophy for modern life, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next video. If you've stayed with me all the way through, it tells me this message resonated with you on a deeper level. That's exactly why subscribing to the channel makes sense, so you can keep exploring these timeless insights and keep sharpening the way you see the world. And if you truly connected with what we've uncovered here, let me know in the comments by writing, "I'm with you until the end." It's always powerful to see who walked the full journey. Give this video a like as well. It's a simple way of showing that this kind of content matters to you, and it helps keep this space alive for all of us who value wisdom that still speaks today. And don't stop here. There's another video waiting right beside this one that dives even further into these ideas. Click it, and let's continue the conversation together over there.